Okay, so I was actually going to read poems, but I changed my mind and I'm going to read a prose piece that's called Ouroboros. It's from a longer work that I've been writing. For a long while, I had imagined myself as a playwright of sorts, writing my own life inside the margins of a life that was being written by someone else. When I was in my 20s, marginalia was where the majority of my life was written. Everything was read somewhere in the spaces between the words, those brief moments of silence that signified the distance between what was said and what was meant. My narrative existed in those spaces, and I was struggling to create a life, even in the margins. The beginnings of my life as this imagined playwright started while riding the bendy buses that were sadly replacing London's double-deckers. There had been this wild rumor that a litigious, middle-aged American couple had sued Transport for London when the husband had fallen down the cramped, winding stairs while the bus was still moving. It was true that you had to run down those stairs as fast as possible if you wanted off in time, and often at your own peril. One imagined the man, probably at times deemed obese, at other times too tall, or too pushy, maybe, or sporting a shabby mid-American Walmart sense of fashion, crying out to his wife, dollar signs already floating above his head, as he tumbled down that narrow spiral that fateful day. But all of that was only a rumor passed along in pubs, among expat circles, or in houses filled to the brim with foreign students on temporary working visas. It's funny how these stories move along from person to person. Sometimes I think that imaginary couple still exists out there, somewhere in the world. It was on that daily ride on the bendy bus from Marylebone Station to Southwest 1 in Victoria that I swallowed the image I was creating for myself, the way a snake swallows its own tail. But writing really came much earlier on than this moment, though it must have been this imprecise stitch in time that I decided officially to write this image into being. My imaginary life, my margins, were spilling over the narratives others wrote for me in the offices I ran to from those daily rides, from the narratives written over my body by so many people in my life. Anything spilt can cause a disruption. I gladly knocked the inkwell over. Why was I so in love at that point in time? Had I ever loved before? Have I loved since? Love has a tendency to devour itself. It can regenerate at different times and places throughout our lives, its past forms hiding inside each subsequent version. I had run from most of those moments, though. I had wanted to disappear from that incredible pressure. I was always already halfway on the other side of the room, the other side of the city, the universe. Until that point, I had successfully hidden away from everyone, except from love itself. For a long time, I didn't think about him. Maybe that's why I can speak of him now. Or maybe it was the city that I was really in love with, and he was only a cipher. The city flung open all doors inside me, a girl who had grown up in a box culture, stripped down to abandoned buildings, its past shuttered for suburban comforts, large swaths of burned-out nothingness peppered in pasteled strip mall poverty. Was he the city? Were his bones the infrastructure linking everything back to the center? Or would it have been the veins, the skin, the sinews? And what was his center? Or was there no real center? Was he more or less everywhere at all times, an omnipresence that I carried within me? Did he even exist? If I said his name, others might be able to claim they remember his face, in the same way that buildings leave certain impressions even after they've been removed. But really, if those I know remember him at all, they'd most likely remember my face at that point in time when he existed for me, when all I could do was breathlessly run through his streets, leaving fragments of myself in the hopes that he would find them. Here, look here. The girl is a woman. She is 24 years old, firefly red hair, carrying a lover's discourse in her pocket, thinking she can quote Roland Barthes like a pickup artist. There she is, walking along Goswell Road, zooming about, ducking from the city's perpetual rain. The city, drunk on its own chaos, watches her from across a table in a small cafe, watches her move onto platforms and off buses, dreaming of a constant future that arrives but is never what she expects. The city watches her pile into her 2-bedroom flat she shares with 6 others. She's got no sense of direction, but moves as if she's going somewhere. Maybe he was right all along. Maybe she was nothing special. He had told her one night, while they walked in a crisp October evening through Covent Garden, that she was just like any other girl. They all wanted to be some character off the telly, feeling special running around some false city with its fake building sets. These are the kinds of things she holds on to because they verify her insignificance, that powerlessness she knows so well. She holds on to them because they spill from the mouth of the desired other, the one who can suddenly redefine the meaning of her life. She is a copy of a copy, walking around imagining that she is original. She might as well be a clone that looks into its maker's mirror and still thinks, hell yes, I am me, I am only me, there is only one. I am amazing, so amazing you can't even get close. You can't even imagine. You can't touch me. God, you're like my ex-wife, he says, taking another swing at her facade. Then he starts to tell her that his ex-wife was an actress on a well-known television show. She imagines herself as an actress on the well-known television show. She imagines herself as his ex-wife, the actress. Later, she'll go home dizzy, breathless, and lie in bed, kissing her pillow, feeling her soft body, imagining him pressing into her, that heat, the smoothness of his skin, the length of his body, the soft, translucent hairs on his arms. She'll go home and find hidden meanings in his words. She'll connect everything back to him. It was important that they've met. She knows this, of course, because she feels it, thinks she can divine it. She'll die if he knows how much she desires him, so she buries it alive, tries to stifle it, to suffocate it. But every minute it is reborn. This resurrection of longing, this process destroys her. You're one of those girls who wants to get married. He always claims to know her, though he doesn't even know her last name. Maybe he's pushing on her soft spots, just to see what she'll say. But on this one, she's pulled one over him because she knows she'll never coil herself around another in the shape of matrimony. She thinks she understands love, that its purpose is to free the soul from the bondage of life's banality. Why would she want to leash it, bottle it up into a tired practice? No, she's not walking down that aisle, she thinks as they both get on the bus that will take them to their homes. He's older than her. He's already in the world living, marking himself up, gathering scars, long before she exists. His body walks into buildings, makes its home in places that she will never see. He makes worlds from the everyday occurrences, builds them out of shadow and light. He's been married twice. I've had many wives, he tells her the first time they kiss. She looks at him, shocked, repulsed perhaps, as if he literally has been in numerous serial marriages. He realizes how stupid he sounds, but he doesn't care because they've both been drinking too much. She thinks she loves him, or maybe just the idea of him, or his body, or the idea of the city. She wants to disappear into it. She wants to have that nerve to own her space in this world the way he does, to walk into buildings, to make her home in places, to create things out of shadow and light, to exist significantly for someone. She wants to write herself into being, a young writer imagining a life for herself on the daily rides she takes on her way to work. Thank you very much.